One night, Harry, his siblings, and cousins were gathered in the courtyard kitchen, playing a lively game of Ludo. The crickets chirped outside, and the occasional hoot of an owl added to the nocturnal ambiance. It was the kind of night that felt timeless, with the warmth of family and the simplicity of village life. As the clock struck midnight, the air grew cooler, and the night seemed to deepen around them. Harry, feeling a surge of excitement, threw the dice. It rolled across the board and landed on 6. 6! He exclaimed with enthusiasm. But no sooner had the word left his lips, a faint yet clear voice echoed from outside the open kitchen doorway, repeating, 6! Everyone froze, their cheerful expressions replaced by ones of confusion and fear. They looked at each other, eyes wide with disbelief. "Who was that?" Harry's younger brother asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "Must be Leo," Harry suggested, referring to their youngest cousin known for his mischievous pranks. "Leo, stop fooling around," Harry called out into the darkness. They resumed their game, trying to shake off the eerie incident. It was Harry's brother's turn now. He threw the dice and it landed on 4. 4, he said quietly. Again, the same chilling voice from outside the kitchen doorway repeated, 4. Panic started to set in. The game was forgotten as they huddled together, trying to make sense of what was happening. They strained their ears, listening for any other sounds, but the night had fallen eerily silent. Harry, trying to muster some courage, grabbed a log from the fire they had been using to cook. He stayed seated, holding the burning log in front of him like a torch. His siblings and cousins clung to each other, their eyes following Harry's every move. With a deep breath, Harry threw the burning log towards the open doorway. The flames flickered, casting long, dancing shadows on the walls. He peered into the darkness, his heart pounding in his chest. Suddenly, in the dim glow of the firelight, they saw it. A horrifying creature, unlike anything they had ever seen. Its form was twisted and grotesque, with eyes that glowed with an unholy light. The creature stepped into the doorway, blocking their only exit, and looked directly at Harry and the group, its presence exuding pure malevolence. "You escaped tonight because of the fire," the creature hissed, its voice like nails on a chalkboard. "But next time you won't be so lucky." With that, it vanished into the shadows, leaving the air thick with fear and an oppressive silence that seemed to swallow all sound. Harry, still clutching another burning log, looked around at his terrified siblings and cousins. "It's gone," he said, his voice shaking. "But we need to be careful. Whatever that thing was, it might come back."
Once, in a hilly village, a girl named Sarah went to the market. When she returned home in the evening, she sat under a tree to fix her hair. However, she didn't realize that sitting under that tree in the evening could bring her trouble. She knew that there were evil influences around the tree, but was careless and forgot that the tree was haunted by ghosts. She began to fix her hair, but when she was sleeping in her room at night, she started having terrible nightmares and woke up at 2 a.m. However, she was not in her senses. She was under the control of a ghost. She left her house and ran towards the mountains, traveling for 1 hour until she reached the top, and then returned home at 5 a.m. When she woke up in the morning, she had no memory of what had happened during the night. This continued for a few days, but her family noticed a change in her behavior. She started getting angry over small things and would fight with her family members. She even began hitting and yelling at her younger siblings. Her family had no idea that she was leaving the house at night and going to the mountaintop. One night, a family member saw her getting up at 2 a.m., leaving the house, and returning at 5 a.m. When asked where she had gone, she replied that she had just gone outside to use the bathroom. The family member informed her mother about what he had seen and questioned why the girl didn't use the bathroom inside the house. Her family decided to secretly observe her that night to see where she went. They pretended to sleep, and when the girl got up at 2 a.m. and left the house, they quietly followed her. She again ran towards the mountaintop, and after 1 hour journey, she reached the top and sat on a rock, singing. Her parents, who were hiding and watching her, were terrified by what they saw. This happened for 3 consecutive nights. The girl was not acting on her own will. A ghost possessed her and took her to the mountain. The situation grew increasingly tense at home. Sarah's behavior during the day became more erratic. She would often talk to herself, sometimes in a language no one in the family understood. Objects in her room would be found moved or thrown about when she was the only one there. Her family was at a loss for what to do. They tried talking to her, reasoning with her, but nothing seemed to work. Sarah seemed distant. Her eyes often glazed over as if she were looking at something far away. One evening, Sarah's grandmother, who had always been considered the wisest in the family, suggested they bring in a priest from a nearby town known for dealing with such supernatural occurrences. The family agreed, desperate for a solution. Finally, her family decided to take her to a priest and explain everything that had been happening. When they took her to the priest and described her behavior, the ghost inside her appeared again, and her voice changed. The ghost spoke through her, telling the priest that he would never leave the girl. The priest warned the ghost to leave her body, or he would destroy him. The ghost refused, saying he would stay with her for her entire life. The priest warned him again, threatening to destroy his entire race. The ghost, scared, agreed to leave but asked for permission to see the girl once a month. The priest allowed him to see her once a month, but forbade him from visiting her after she got married. The ghost agreed and left. However, even after the ghost left her, Sarah was not entirely the same. She often felt a cold presence around her, especially at night. Sometimes she would wake up feeling as though someone had been watching her sleep. Her family did their best to comfort her, but there was always an unspoken fear among them. Sarah's friends at school noticed the change in her too. She was quieter, more withdrawn. They would often find her staring off into the distance, lost in thought. When they asked her what was wrong, she would just smile weakly and say she was fine. But they knew better. One night, a few months after the ghost had supposedly left, Sarah had a particularly vivid dream. She was standing at the edge of a cliff, the wind howling around her. Below her, she could see the village, tiny and distant. She felt a presence beside her and turned to see a shadowy figure. The figure spoke to her in a soft, whispery voice, telling her that it was not yet done with her. She woke up in a cold sweat, her heart racing. Despite the priest's intervention, the ghost seemed to still have some hold over Sarah. Her family decided to take further action. They brought in a spiritual healer from another village who was known for his powerful rituals. The healer performed a cleansing ritual, burning herbs and chanting prayers. He assured the family that this would help to protect Sarah from any lingering spirits. The ritual seemed to have a positive effect. Sarah's nightmares became less frequent, and she began to slowly return to her old self. She started spending more time with her family and friends, and her mood improved. However, the experience had left a mark on her. She was more cautious, more aware of the unseen forces around her. Years passed and Sarah grew up. She eventually got married and moved to another town. The ghost kept its promise and never appeared to her again. However, Sarah never forgot the terror she had experienced. She continued to feel a cold presence around her from time to time, but it never harmed her or made itself known.